week away from the start of Steelers' mandatory mini camp, and we're still waiting to find out whether Aaron Rodgers is interested in playing quarterback for Pittsburgh this season. That guy sure does like to keep us in the dark, as it were. Welcome to NFL Live. I'm Dan Graziano, here today with Tim Hasselbeck, Sam Acho, and Jeff Darlington. We're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff, but I did want to start with that particular saga. Jeff, what's the latest? Give us something new on Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, really? You just want me to tell you that he's signing, Dan? You want me to just tell you that he's on his way to Pittsburgh? No, I can't do that because, quite frankly, he's not. And that's kind of where we're at with the Aaron Rodgers drama. Now, I will say this. All signs continue to point to him eventually joining this team. I say that in part because of a lot of the things I've heard behind the scenes, but also publicly and front-facing. You have heard Aaron Rodgers say in that clip right there, I don't want to hold the Steelers hostage. He has done nothing to this point to suggest to the team that he is out on playing quarterback for them. And I'm not suggesting that means that he will just simply sign because of that. But this is a player with a deep respect for Mike Tomlin, a continued communication with Mike Tomlin, a player who has worked out with DK Metcalf at times this offseason, trying to acclimate himself to the wide receiver, and has also hinted that he will be playing for the Steelers. What does that mean? It means nothing in terms of minicamp. Perhaps I think the benchmark we should be looking more towards still at this point is training camp.
All right, so Tim, is that good enough? If he doesn't show up until training camp and he wants to be the starting quarterback of the Steelers, is he going to be ready in time?
Yeah, I think it's good enough. Look, I think when you get to the point where you're over 40, you've played, a couple of decades in the NFL as a quarterback, a team's pursuing you, you're their best option. I think that's good enough. Is it the best possible scenario? No, it's not. The best possible scenario that he's in Pittsburgh working out, leading, building a rapport with the guys that are there, all of that stuff. But it's just not realistic with someone that's played as long as Aaron's played. And so I think what the point Jeff made that really stuck out to me there is the deep respect for Mike Tomlin. I do think that, the way Aaron Rodgers has gone about this with Tomlin, that communication, and I think what, at least to me, feels like a shared understanding that he will be there at some point. It feels to me that both Aaron Rodgers, Mike Tomlin, and anyone else that matters would be okay with that, and I think that that's probably good enough.
And I love the point that you made, Tim. You said anyone that matters. In this saga, this situation, the people who matter are Aaron Rodgers, Mike Tomlin, and then ultimately his teammates. Those teammates want Aaron Rodgers for week one, and they understand that for week one, you'd like to have him there by training camp. Organized team activities, Aaron Rodgers may argue, aren't necessary. Minicamp, he also may argue, isn't necessary. Tim, as you know, you go through OTAs, you put the same install during mandatory minicamp, then you go through the same install during training camp. And yes, it would be nice for Aaron Rodgers to build that rapport, to have that time with his team beforehand, but obviously that is not the case. And so as long as Aaron Rodgers is signed and on that team by the time training camp starts, or even a few days after training camp, as long as you get him by week one, you're going to be happy. Now, as soon as he starts saying, okay, maybe I'm not coming, you don't have him, that's when the bigger scenario happens, because then you need a plan B if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, so what would be plan B? I mean, Tim, we've heard talk about Kirk Cousins and still possibility that the Falcons might trade him if the right deal comes up. Would he be a better option than Rodgers at this point?
I don't think he's a better option than Rodgers. One, it'd be way more expensive than Rodgers. I can't imagine, Rodgers' contract, especially with probably a one-year deal, you would think, versus, Cousins, you're assuming his contract. There may be an acquisition cost to that. That one just feels messy to me. So is he a better option than Rodgers? I don't believe so. Now, is he a better option than Mason Rudolph? I think you can easily say he would be, from a playing perspective, but then you factor in the contract perspective, again on it. And, the idea that you would probably be assuming Cousins' contract, not just for this season, but, going beyond that. So, look, I understand the thought process on Cousins. I think he can still play at a starter level. He's not going to find that in Atlanta. But the problem is it's messy and it's expensive for a bunch of different sides. And by the way, it has to be something that Kirk Cousins wants to do because he has a no-trade clause.
Yeah, a lot of complicating factors there, no doubt. Jeff, the quarterback situation is not the only thing the Steelers are dealing with right now. So take us through a couple more of their issues, starting with a visit by Gabe Davis.
Well, it is connected, of course. Gabe Davis, the wide receiver who flamed out really with the Jaguars, did not have a very good tenure there, albeit a very short one, after playing really well for the Bills. Now, all of a sudden, we're looking at a visit from Gabe Davis to the Steelers on Thursday. The question, of course, here is, would Davis be willing to sign, not knowing exactly who the starter will be in Week 1, if it'll be Aaron Rodgers? He's probably the best free agent out there, and he does fit, quite frankly, what Arthur Smith would want to do on that offense. It does make sense if this actually ends up being a marriage. TJ Watt contract, still something that we're focused on. Maybe a little bit on the back burner, but he really hasn't been at OTAs so far this offseason. Very curious to see if he shows up to minicamp. That would imply, if he does not, that he is serious about getting this new contract. We know he's serious about it, but how far is he willing to take this? He would face fines if he doesn't go to mandatory minicamp, and obviously it would also imply that perhaps a training camp holdout is also in play here. Watt has made very clear, in fact, his brother JJ Watt on our air has made very clear that there will be no hometown discount from TJ Watt. Watt wants to get paid to stay with the Steelers.
Our Bears reporter Courtney Cronin has been around the team during all these offseason workouts. She joins us now. Courtney, what else can you tell us about what went on in practice today?
Graz, I think picking up where we left off 2 weeks ago when I joined you here on NFL Live is a good place to start, because it centers around Cole Kmet. He was the center of a play that was blown dead because he was aligned just about a yard off. So it's not like a huge miss for Kmet, but obviously there was something that Ben Johnson saw during that play that he wanted to make this team do over again in a 7-on-7 drill. And Kmet said, well, I was kind of cheating myself out of getting the ball on that play. So they blow the play dead, they run it again. Johnson comes up to him afterwards and says, hey man, I was trying to get you the football. And that's kind of been this common theme here. What I've been watching for at minicamp today, it's Johnson going and correcting the little details. Kmet told me that it's not because he's not happy with the player or doesn't like somebody. He just wants to win and he wants to strive for perfection. That's something that DJ Moore says has caused him to have almost this internal dialogue with himself when he's going through plays. Did I execute that to the highest of my ability? Was I slacking on this, or did I run it perfectly? Players know that they're going to hear the whistle if that perfection is not achieved, but also knowing that this is the offseason, mistakes are going to be made, and Johnson dealing with the push and pull of that as they get ready for day 2 of minicamp on Wednesday.
Courtney Cronin always delivering perfection as our eyes and ears at Bears minicamp. Thanks, Courtney. Tim, so much about what's going on in Chicago this offseason is about learning. New head coach Ben Johnson with Caleb Williams, the quarterback. Where should they be in that process at this point in the offseason?
Well, look, they're on the ground floor. They're starting from scratch. I mean, that's where they're starting from. It's brand new. Now, that being said, you'd like to think that Caleb Williams is, probably on his own time, maybe started to get immersed in some of it. And to Courtney's reporting on the details of it, look, you're really you're getting the terminology, you're getting the basics. But what is key is that you're learning the finer points along the way, because, look, you've heard people say it's a game of inches and all of that. Like, that's why the finer details matter. So